Hoi folks, good morning, good afternoon and good evening wherever you are in the world. My name's Sean, aka Uncle Frogface, and welcome to today's video. If you're new here, then welcome. If you're not new, then welcome back. Now, it is no secret if you are a fan of the channel that I am a huge fan of Frisk paper. I first introduced to them in scrawler boxes and honestly have fallen in love with all the products that they have. So I was very happy when they reached out to me to try out one of several new products that they have launched. So I've got a little package here. I've already taken a little sneaky peeky look inside. But we're going to have a look at the new product that they've sent me and do a little bit of a review. Now, they have sent me this for free, but they are well aware that I am brutally honest with my reviews, and all of the opinions in this video are, of course, my own. But let's turn the camera around. Let me show you exactly what, well, you've probably seen already from the thumbnail, but let me show you what we've got inside this package. Here we are, welcome to my desk. I really need a cold drink, it is so hot at the moment. I am melting in my office. But let's have a look inside here. So first I've got a letter from Frisk, which I've already read. So I'm just gonna tip out what we have got in here. There we go. So these are the Frisk art markers. They are alcohol markers. This is one of several products that Frisk have just launched, and obviously they do lots of different paper, but now we have all these art supplies as well. So just to quickly run through some of the stuff that they have obviously the alcohol art markers, they have fine liners, coloured fine liners, brush pens, metallic brush pens, metallic pens, chrome markers, I'm interested in, gel pens as well, acrylic markers. I really want the full set of the fine liners. They do look amazing. But yeah, Frisk essentially have now moved out of just paper and masking fluid and all that kind of stuff, and are now producing pens of different varieties, which is incredibly exciting. Now, I am by no means an expert with alcohol markers, but I do enjoy using them, and I have reviewed a lot of alcohol markers over the last couple of years. So these ones they're a bullet nib on one end, just like that, there we go, and they are a chisel nib on the other end. And we've got a good selection of colours here. So just to run through, we have got dark green, carmine, fresh yellow, orange, blue grey, pastel peach, brick brown, plate green and sky blue. These actually remind me a lot of my old Ohuhu markers, which I used all the time. So it'd be interesting to see how they compare against those. So usually when it comes to alcohol markers, I would use something like this. It's just a smooth white card. I bought a ream of it years ago and I'm still working my way through it. So it's a good kind of basic card for markers. It holds up really well. However, I thought to myself, these are Frisk pens. I love Frisk paper. Let's try some Frisk marker paper. I've never tried marker paper before, so why not give it a try now? So I actually went onto Amazon and bought a whole bunch of different papers. We've got some watercolor postcards because I love A6 watercolors. We've got some newsprint, 100 sheets of newsprint paper, which is very good for sketching. And then of course we have some bleed proof marker paper in A5, and this is very interesting. It's very thin, it's very smooth. People always think bleed proof marker paper means it's not going to bleed through the page, or that you're not going to see it on the other side. That's not technically correct. Bleed proof marker paper means that the colours don't bleed into each other. You can still mix, but they're not going to spread across the page. So what we're going to do is go through, I'm going to put these into some kind of order, and I'm going to swatch them out first on the bleed proof marker paper and then on the card, just to see how they compare with each other. And then I'm going to go ahead and create a full piece of artwork using these alcohol markers. So let's get to organising these and doing some swatching. So I'd like to take this opportunity just to say a big thank you to my Patreon supporters. It really does make a huge difference to the channel and to myself. If you'd like to become a patron and get some of those benefits, then there is a link down below in the link tree. If, however, you want to support the channel in another way, the easiest thing you can do is simply to subscribe, let YouTube know that you think there's value within the channel, and it will send it out to lots more people as well and help the channel grow. And I would really appreciate it. Okay, that was actually very interesting for a couple of reasons. So first of all, the markers feel great. You know, there's absolutely nothing wrong with them. There's nothing stand out about them either, but they're a really good, solid alcohol marker. But they do feel really nice. One thing I am happy about is the cap posts beautifully. It is really solidly on there, which I really like. And if you've watched this channel for any length of time, you know a pen that posts has its lid that can go on the end of it, or on the end of another lid if it's a double-ended one like this. It's very important. I'm terrible for losing lids. Right, let's go over to the actual swatches. As you can see, the colours are really nice and actually very accurate to what they are on the pen lids, with the exceptions, I think, of the greens. I think they're a little bit more in the yellow on the paper than they might be on the caps, and I think the pale green is much more pale than it actually is here. This feels more of a mossy green rather than a dark green. Everything else kind of matches up really nicely. I'm particularly fond of this brick brown. That's a very nice match. The orange, yellow, all really good. It's just the greens that are a little bit off in terms of colour. Also interesting, on the two types of paper, you can really see the difference in white. First of all, you've got the dirty white of my desk, the brilliant white of this card, and then the plain white of this paper here. So on the marker paper, I feel that the colours are more vibrant, they're more saturated, they pop a lot more. On this one over here, I think it's probably due to it soaking into the cardstock a little bit more. The colours are a little bit more washed out. They're more dull, they're not as vibrant. So I think when using these markers, I probably will go ahead and use marker paper. I mean, that's what it's designed for. I'm actually very happy with it. Done a bit of a blend test as well with the yellow and the orange, and it blends really well on both papers. So you can see that actually the blending, not an issue at all. One thing I have noticed just kind of looking at it is the build up of colour. So it's a lot more subtle on the card than on here, and again I think that's to do with the colours soaking into the paper here. You can see more of the strokes on marker paper opposed to the normal cardstock. So I think that's important, particularly when it comes to blending and you get a build-up of pigment, just to be aware that you might see some of the strokes through it and to think about how you're going to layer things on top of each other. This wasn't supposed to be a paper review, but I will just have a quick look at the back of this paper as well. You can see that it is definitely coming through on the back, but it is not going on to the next page. It's also going to come out very easily. There we are. Lovely. So it's not bled across the page or feathered around the edges, which I can see there is a little bit of feathering on the card. So I think that's a big thumbs up for the paper as well. So I think what I need to do now, actually side by side, you can really see the difference in these colours. You can see the yellowness of this, where this feels more blue. You know, there's a difference in the actual tones of the colours. Anyway, I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use the marker paper. I'm going to go ahead and draw something out in ink I'm kind of taking inspiration from the front of this as well. So maybe something architectural, building related, might go down the fantasy route. But something where I can experiment with some of these colours and layer them up. And I'm actually going to create a piece of artwork with these markers. But so far, very happy. Let's see how they go when actually using them in a full piece. I'll come back to you in just a second when I have my design all plotted out. Okay, I have had to take a little bit of time and reassess what I'm doing, and I think I now have an idea, but it's not originally what I envisioned, and I'll show you why. So usually when I am using markers or paints or anything like that, and I'm using pen, I will use my pen first. So I'll sketch out in pencil, use my pen, get as much detail as I want in there, let that dry, then come back and then put my colour in. Pretty standard order of operation, particularly with waterproof ink in pens as well. It's great. However, I did a little test down here and you can see there is a slight issue because this marker paper is designed to allow the ink to flow on its surface and be mixed and blended. The ink doesn't fully dry, which means it's still able to be picked up by the marker. And it's a good job that I checked this first, actually, because I was about to go in and I thought, actually I should probably check that this paper's okay with the pens. And yeah, even after letting it sit for 40 minutes to dry, it still picks it up. However, you can see the ink does go over the marker very nicely. Interestingly, down here on the standard paper, not an issue. The marker goes over the pen, it's absolutely fine. So I'm kind of regrouping at the moment because I had an idea of what I want to do and I'm not quite sure how I'm going to tackle it now. So I'm gonna have a bit of a break. I'm gonna have a cup of tea. I'm gonna maybe even have lunch as well. Think about what I'm doing and then I'll come back and think about the best way to tackle this. But I think I'm going to be drawing something out in pencil lightly, then colouring, then inking, then maybe doing some detailed colouring if that's an option. But yeah, that's where we are at the moment anyway. So give me, I'm going to take a bit of a break for myself, but for you it'll just be a second and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've just done a very, very quick sketch of a building, and I think all of this is going to be very loosely done. So I'm now going to go through, use the markers, and lay down kind of lots of block colour. I think that's how I'm going to do this one. I want it to look like a marker picture, so I want those marker strokes in there. So I'm going to get cracking on that. Once I've got all of my colours down, I'll then go in with some fine liners and just do, again, I don't want it to be really refined, maybe just a few sketchy details in there just to pick out a few little bits. But fingers crossed this goes well. Let's go into a time lapse. Okay, actually that turned out better than I expected it to. I'm genuinely quite happy with this piece. Okay, let's go on to the markers themselves, because I'm actually very impressed with them. I don't know whether it was just the markers or the paper or the combination of the both, but they blended really nicely. They're really, really nice to use. The nibs on them are not too hard, not too soft, they're not super flexible, but they're also not going to tear up your paper either. The colours are really nicely saturated. I think the balance of the colours is really nice in this. It's important to say this is a 9 set, it's like a promotional set. They will be available in 12, 24 and 36. I do wonder whether they will go ahead in the future and release kind of set colour palettes, because I quite like having, for instance, a set of greys or a set of blues or a set of greens, you know, so that I can pick out and have some kind of tonal variation within a single piece. Greys, particularly with alcohol markers, are very, very useful because you can layer them over things and get to all kinds of shadows. But yeah, I'm super, super happy with these. Thank you, Frisk, for sending them out to me. The paper as well. We recently had marker paper in a scrawler box and it crumpled up and got very kind of horrible because of my sweaty hands because of the heat. It is even hotter today than it was when I did that video. I'm sweating buckets at the moment, and this paper has held up beautifully. You can see it has gone through to the other side, so you could not use the other side of this, but you're not intended to use the other side of this. But the next piece of paper, there is not a dot of ink on there, and the colours have not spread out and kind of mingled together at all, other than where I have used them to blend. So I think these now have a permanent home within my alcohol markers, and I'm definitely going to be using them on a regular basis. Really like to know your guys' thoughts as well, so don't forget to leave a comment down below. While you're there, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss a video in the future. But yeah, I think we're just about done. So as always, I hope you've enjoyed today's video, and until next time, goodbye.